Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Let's get this meeting rolling. Architectural Review Board, June 25th, 7 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mason, Capicella,
Here.
Morrison.
Here.
Barvin,
Here.
Mason.
Okay, we'll do Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, citizens' time. No one in the audience. Any emails? Okay, so we'll move on. Minute approvals. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Architectural Review Board meeting minutes from Wednesday, May 21st, 2025.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion and second. Open for discussion. Any comments or changes? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to the agenda items. First on the list is draft code of ethics.
In the last town council meeting, there was discussion about updating the code of ethics just for the town council itself and also the boards and commissions. Just another item to update as the town modernizes, as new residents come in. It's the best practice to fulfill what the town council's vision is and also manage how town staff can best assist the council and the public. With that in mind, council had a deep discussion about it. Resources were taken from other jurisdictions nearby, such as Middleburg, Warrenton, other places like that. The goal, though, is to also have these codes of ethics, if the other boards and commissions will be following these, to discuss these as well. So in our last planning commission meeting, there was discussion, brief comment on anything that the planning commission wanted to say about the code of ethics. What's provided for you tonight as well is another draft version of the code of ethics. I believe there's a red line copy as well within it. For your consideration tonight in comments. The goal is to bring these comments back to the town council for their next meeting. So hopefully they can be passed in the next couple of months. And with that, if Chairman Luerssen would like to add anything to that from the council meeting, and open discussion can commence now.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's being tossed around. It's not official. This one's a little bit descriptive. I'm on the opinion that I kind of like what the town of Herndon did. Herndon's is very short and simple. It's a 1-pager. This one's a 5-pager. So that's under discussion on council right now, and any type of feedback that you would like to give to them, what your opinions are on it, they will consider that before they adopt what's going to, I guess, be the overarching umbrella of the town. Even though truly, if we ever come up with, what the heck document am I thinking of? The rules and guides of the board. What's that document called?
I guess, would it go hand in hand with bylaws?
Yeah, our bylaws would truly be what would be our doctoring, and of course, theirs would be the shadowing document. Thank you. Couldn't think of bylaws. I don't know why. Any opinions?
So in the ARB, in the planning meeting, we kind of went through this and we came back with comments on there. Are those comments in here that we came back with, as well as there was conversation via email afterwards where we actually we actually wanted changes, but it was actually superseded by state standards as well. And if we kind of accommodated for, and I guess the question is, if we have standards and it's superseded by the state, should we just abide with the state standard? And I'm under the opinion that probably we should.
Yep.
This is a clean copy, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of what we discussed with bylaws and ethics, clean copy, free for any ARB comment, and then we can see what overlaps
Okay.
with each
That's fair.
commission and board.
So by clean copy, you mean that you have not incorporated the previous comments?
All,
Planning commission
All
comments.
comments and questions from the board, ARB and Planning Commission, I believe Kim is going to bring up at the council meeting or work session next Monday or the Monday after.
Okay.
We wanted your input from the boards, any changes, questions, so that that could be considered.
And only 2 weeks ago did the commission have the chance to comment on this. So it hasn't even been brought back to council yet since those comments. So there's been nothing lost in translation yet when it comes to what's been reevaluated.
You'd mentioned that the town of Herndon has a simplified version or a more, it seems like a more concise version. Is that available for our review or?
I don't know if we have a copy that can be emailed. Do we have one?
Okay.
Either that or we could, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was presented in the last meeting we had. Yeah, I want to say Councilman Passanella kind of brought that up as a preferred document. So yeah, if you could email that to the board. Okay, so yeah, the work session is Monday. We'll probably discuss it. So if you want to make comments on your own time, get them to Kim before Monday. Any more questions? Okay, we'll move on to ARB guidelines.
Yes. The main update I have, once again, this month, it's a bit of a placeholder. I have printed out examples of other jurisdictions that we can look at now. It's not as in-depth as what we could go into, but it's more of just an outline of these are what some of the jurisdictions have in their organization for what the guidelines look like. Maybe there's something we can pull from that. I will also email links of the guidelines after this meeting tonight. The 3 jurisdictions I'm thinking of in particular that I looked at were for our area that were comparable, Middleburg and Warrenton. I had made a network connection at a planners conference with someone from Abingdon. I know that's not Nova, but they had revamped their historic district guidelines. The format of it is a little not as thorough, I think, as our previous guidelines and some of the other examples, but I thought it would be helpful just to look at that. Before we go into that and I show you those, the main update we also have is for the flow chart that would be linked to the website. I worked with Dave Capicella on that, and we have provided the board tonight on packet page 42 behind all the guidelines, the other edits. If you're satisfied with what that flow chart looks like, the main updates were we just added timelines. And if the goals were, and I'll let you speak on this too after I give my section, but if the goal is the eventual destination for all of these certificates of appropriateness of the building department, then that's reflected and it's not repeated. So I think a lot of what David's provided has streamlined this, and some of the input I gave him related to timelines and other administrative versus board review has clarified a lot on this flow chart and cleaned it up. So if you have any other comments too on this.
Yeah, when we first spoke about this, we wanted the flow chart to kind of give an idea of what needs to happen, how it happens. But I also wanted to set this up with a setting of expectations of how long it's going to take to do certain things. So we wanted to make sure we also kind of laid out that it's going to take 45 days after submission, for ARB approval to take place. Or, and then at the end of it, you have 14 business days after the meeting to appeal. So we wanted to just put timelines in there so people understand that when you submit, it's not going to be approved the next day, more than likely. It's going to take time, and it's going to involve meetings. We put 45 in there because that's what we currently have. So no matter when it's submitted, it's going to hit a meeting. So that's what we kind of tried to do there. And the flow charts are, whether it's, a demolition permit or whether it's modification of a structure, I wanted the two of them to show where you have two different ideas, but there are areas and times where they merge together and kind of follow the same thing. So
Mhm.
This is just the beginning of a bunch of them, right, Thomas?
Yeah, and there are, like I see, no real loop backs on, like rejects. I'm assuming like, on the submission, determination of administrative approval, you can go administrative or with ARB. I think there should be another one saying needs more information, time resets, some type of loop back. So, just to kind of show them that, anything incomplete, clock doesn't start ticking just because you submitted something. Because we have had that happen before. Go ahead. Now, you didn't mention anything with Ben. I'm assuming you and Ben got together and kind of incorporated his comments, because it's nice when experts can bang heads, and that's what I like, to step back and just let you guys do it. So,
Definitely.
are you happy?
I mean, we haven't, since our last meeting, we haven't had a chance to sit down. I know, I think kind of throughout the last fall and then even earlier this year, I provided feedback and comments, and I guess I just didn't want to start, have adding again until I know some of those comments have been incorporated. So I didn't know if this is this is again ready for.
Still reformatting, so I'll,
Okay.
along with the links to the other outside towns jurisdictions for this, I'll have comments ready for Ben to go over prior to the next ARB meeting.
Okay.
So still incorporating them.
And that's why, because I know you said, I think even 2 meetings ago, that you would email me something, and I hadn't seen that. So I didn't want to get too in the weeds with it,
No, definitely.
because I didn't want to comment on work in progress stuff.
Perhaps it might have been inefficient of me to do this, but I got into the formatting of it before I went into the language of it.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight now. And then with this brief discussion that we have, and then also with the comments you provided throughout the past months, I'll have a better product for the board to look at.
Okay.
So with that in mind, for now, I have examples of 2 of the 3 jurisdictions I mentioned. Like I said, Middleburg is very similar to ours. The document's just a little more polished when it comes to aesthetics, but it's much more thorough because of the nature of their historic district and their structures that they have. So what I'm going to provide for you tonight is just the cover sheet for Warrenton's, as well as an example sheet from their page. Let me pass these out and then I'll explain further.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Horizontals, Warrenton, verticals, Abingdon. Oh, sorry about that. So for the landscape sheet, which is Warrenton, they don't have a table of contents, but they have those 5 outline structures. And then the next page is just an example of, here's what's within one of those sections. And then in detail with mortar and pointing for this particular page, they have visual examples as well as the blurb, and then some general specific requirements. And so that's something I wanted to bring up with the board. Currently with the guidelines that we have a lot of references to appendices, which I think are great. There's a glossary of terms. Would you find it more efficient? And I guess if you were an applicant, would you prefer that your visual is right there with you on whatever page you're looking at when it comes to, if I wanted to fix up this exterior element on my building, visuals right there? Or would you prefer references?
So I kind of like the appendices, because you only have to update the appendices when you make changes. You don't have to go through and update the overall document as well. Just me, being me.
It keeps it too, if it's not necessarily a living document, but if it's something that does need to be updated, retrofit, much easier to do so.
Yeah, I can see both ways. I know sometimes when I'm writing my own reports for my work, I like to put the figures right next to the text when I'm talking about the things, but I can also appreciate the need for just updating the appendices. I do know, because last year I was looking at Warrenton's, historic guidelines, and I think, they were professionally done, right? And so they kind of tailor to the visuals. because I think they kind of even go through and kind of describe some of the various architectural styles and like, features of a home and structure and things like that.
Yeah, and a lot of the styles, like if you look at Abingdon, they kind of really go in depth on the different styles with a description of what that style terminology is. That's kind of good, but it's kind of overkill. We're not trying to teach a real estate course here or an architectural course. So I don't think we need to go to that type of detail. We just want a generalization of, you want to put a fence up. These are the type of fences that we approve administratively if you want to make it quick. Anything that's customized or complex would have to go to the board, but these are the things we cater to, right? Neighboring architectures and blah, blah, that, right? You can do the same with almost any house element, windows, doors, siding, roofing. And it's at least blocked off so that if an applicant goes, oh yeah, I'm putting a deck up, what do I need to know about a deck? Go right to the deck section. With just some bulletized guidelines. We don't even have to really be detailed or descriptive too much. At least that's how I would like to see it. Because if I'm an applicant, I don't want to have to read a textbook.
Definitely. And kind of to David's point as well, and just one strength I found with this, like I said, I only printed the real cover sheet, introduction, and then glossary for Abingdon, but it really goes in depth, but it's in the glossary. And so it's kind of separated, even if it's a little wordy on the details for each, I guess, improvement, at least there's a glossary there outside. So I'll look into with what Ben has commented and given me, as well as some of these comments here. I'll have a reformatting ready. Part of it too was the document that I've been working with. I hadn't copy pasted to just have it free flowing. So there were a lot of other attachments, those kind of things to work with. So that's all being reworked, and then I'll have a better product for you next month. Other than that, no other major updates. So just to confirm too, for the flow chart, you're really only looking for maybe a timeline for if it loops back and what that looks like, correct?
Yeah, you want to make sure that people understand when they look at it that times get reset when rejections occur. It doesn't still continue on at that point. Because I have had some people complain about that. Those two houses that were being down there, the builder has complained saying, it took almost so many, a year and a half to get this done. It's kind of like, yeah, well, the moment you said you weren't going to put in a fire plug, that reset our time of evaluation. Because now all of a sudden we had to reassess it with what the codes are and everything else. So it's got to start from minute one again. And so this at least identifies to the people, hey, there will be resets in here. If anything gets rejected or, it needs to go spin back to a different block. Maybe it doesn't reset to zero, minute one, but it may reset to a week back because you're going back to this phase. And each phase has its own set of timelines, right?
Mhm.
Other than that, I'll work with Dave again just to make sure everything's been incorporated from what
Yep.
the comments have been given.
So were you blessed with a tool approval by a town manager to get a Visio license, or are you relying on Dave for all this?
Dave is our current blessing for that tool. So
That's fine.
Okay. Any other feedback you're looking for? Any questions anybody has?
currently, no.
So we're going to consider that closed then?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, next is old business. Is there anything that's really old?
Main item is just looking back at the previous sign application we've reviewed. I've talked with Emily on that. We'll make sure in the future that if anything is out of order when it comes to zoning, that proper procedures followed there. So that's the only main item I have on old business.
I did notice that Zandra's sign was changed. I went there for dinner Friday night, and when I was walking out, I noticed a sign had changed. That was a good thing.
Okay. Write that down real quick. Okay. Next, any new business? Anybody have anything they want to raise up to Thomas? Thomas, you have anything?
Just a couple of things. We're looking to see in the next month or two, a couple sign applications. There's some new tenants that came in. Some other older signs that need to be reapplied for, that kind of thing. So hoping to get those on the board's agenda in the next couple months. One example being at 14600 Washington Street, their monument sign's getting pretty full. There is availability in the front of the tenant spaces for potential wall signage. We're just reviewing options there for some of the new tenants. Additionally, we've been working still in very much feasibility study stages for the project, but there is a buyer interested in 14841 Washington Street. It's the home of the corner of Washington and St. Paul Drive. Kitty corner to VCA Healthy Paws Medical Center, that tenant space. They potentially will be applying for demolition COA for that particular building. They'll be providing structural assessments, that kind of thing. So just something to keep on your radar. We're still working with timelines on them and then seeing what their next step will be. But I just wanted to bring that up to the board.
So let me ask a question. Is that just the main structure, or is it the outbuilding as well?
It would be both.
Both of them? Okay.
So it'd be a clean slate for them when it comes to whatever new build they want to do.
Okay.
They're looking at more of a custom boutique business, that kind of thing. Boutique. So it would be more commercial related, fits with the zoning that it's already there. It would just be demolition and then new build.
And the daycare is looking to go across the street from that, correct?
Yes, near that.
Mhm.
So with that in mind as well, we're still working on the site plan review, as I gave an update to the planning commission, hoping to have that on July's planning commission meeting, but there will still be discussion about elevations. We're still looking to see if there can be more pedestrian accessibility at the front tenant spaces. Because right now it's the proposals for a childcare center, drop-off points on the inside, but then there's also some retail that would be fronting Washington Street. So still looking into that. Hopefully their architect brings something to us that we can also review as the site plan gets reviewed and approved as well. So I'm still waiting for submissions for that. Other than that, I have no other new business.
Now, the COA for demolition, that's for H.A. Johnson's house. Is that what you mean right there on the
believe that's
corner of
the
St.
one.
Paul?
Mhm.
Okay.
So there is to consider, it is per zoning ordinance historic.
And you say Healthy Paws would take over that property and rebuild, so they're going to be selling their other property?
I meant that as a point of reference.
Okay.
It's a separate, it's someone that
Okay.
lives in the Haymarket zip code that wants to establish a business in Haymarket, the corporate limits. That was just a point of reference. What it's
Okay.
near.
If you're
So,
in Healthy Paws lot,
It's across the
cross street
street.
to the right.
Yeah.
exactly. So that was all, the only need for that reference.
Oh, okay, so it's that white
Mhm.
white building.
Yeah.
okay.
With
Structure
the,
behind, yeah.
Excuse me, setback pretty
With the
far
chain
from
link
Washington
fence.
Street.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I think the only chain link fence in Haymarket because it's been grandfathered.
Pretty much.
Is there any update on
Johnson.
Lane Motors, the Lane Motors building?
Still working on, Emily's met with them, and I wasn't present for that meeting, but there was discussion about how best to meet the criteria that was given in the demolition COA approval. So I think there's still talks about that. They just wanted to clarify a few items with Emily
Okay.
I was occupied with something else at the time, but still moving forward with that, but waiting on their next step to meet the conditions.
And their townhomes that they want to put in at the other end of town, have those been,
So for those townhomes, right now, the site plan's been approved. We're still waiting on bond submissions from them. They gave me an update that most likely after July 4th, after that holiday, that they'd be submitting bonds. Next steps then would be to have the tenants from the 3 single-family units move out and then demolish those homes. And then construction would start. So I can double check with the board again, just to give in writing timelines for the COA for demolition that was given for those single-family homes, as well as just other general timelines for that. So let me mark that as an update to send to the board along with previous things we discussed.
Yeah, I think you were actually talking about the QBE property, right? Not the
no, I was,
the Blight townhomes.
no, I was talking about
Blight
the Blight Drive. I think there's a couple single-family homes that they're going to
Yeah.
demolish.
It was
and
the
put
11
townhomes.
townhomes, right?
What
Yeah,
is that, 11 townhomes?
Yeah.
One in there?
yeah, so they haven't, and that's what you were talking about?
After
Okay.
the site plan approval, there hasn't been much movement on the bond
Okay.
submission yet, so
Okay.
still waiting on that.
Does one have a bearing on any other one? Like, if they don't get the Lane Motors through, are they still going to build the
No,
townhomes?
it's same owner. I think they're willing to move through with both projects.
Okay, so there's no bearing on either one.
Yeah, regardless of timeline for either one, they're still going to be constructing the townhomes.
Yep, and since QB property was raised, there is some feelers going on right now about townhomes in the green space there. Very initial discussion, so nothing of concern yet. They're just doing their due diligence to determine on if it's a risk, what kind of risk they're looking at purchasing that property and making a profit off of it.
Purchasing the entire thing or just the green space?
The entire property.
With that in mind too, the existing Lewis home, their cookies and cream building, the proposal's to move it, no demolition. So it would stay on site. It would just be moved separate or moved either to the
New
side or to the
location.
front of the building. I can't remember the rendering off the top of my head, but
So, real tough to demolish.
Yeah, well, we call it Sears home, but it's actually a Lowe's home.
Was it really?
Lewis, yeah.
Okay, any other discussions? Then we'll move on to PC liaison.
All we went through was draft code of ethics, in and out in probably 30 minutes. The only thing that's been faster than us was the last board meeting.
Okay, any questions? Move on to council liaison. Last meeting was pretty quick too. I think we had a record time. Things that were voted on, resolution 2025-06 was budget amendment, fiscal year 2025 budget amendment. That was passed. Resolution 2025-03, adoption of the tax rate. That was passed. Resolution 2025-007, adoption of the 26 budget and appropriation of funds was passed. Resolution 2025-004, adoption of town council policies and procedures was passed. That was pretty much it. Any questions? Discussions?
No.
Okay. This thing likes to turn off on me. Okay. So that's it for town council updates. Do I have a motion? Adjournment time.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
30 minutes.